Hello and welcome to the Stretford Paddock Podcast. My name is Joe, that is Jay, that is Ronaldo, and it actually feels quite nice to be a United fan at the minute, doesn't it? We haven't had many days like this or weeks like this in the last sort of 18 months, so we're going to enjoy it. We're going to go through some of the reasons why it's actually all right and quite fun even to be a Manchester United fan right now.
Is that because we didn't play?
Yeah. Part of it is because this is reason number one. We haven't played in 2 weeks.
The best time to be a United fan is when we've got a new manager and before we've played under the new manager.
It's perfect.
Like, do you remember under Van Gaal or Eric Ten Hag? It was mint when they were appointed, and then the first game, like losing at home to Swansea or losing at home to Brighton, was it under something like that? Knocks the wind out of your sails. So when they're appointed before the first game is the best.
Yeah, there's loads of stuff to look at. We'll be getting a little bit of Ruben Amorim stuff. There was an interview with him on Friday that we've not spoken about on the podcast yet. Also a little bit of reaction to the stuff over the weekend. Bruno Fernandes carrying on his sensational form. A little bit of a look toward the weekend as well. And there's been an article from James Ducker in the Telegraph, friend of the channel, James Ducker, where he's mentioned about some potential spending constraints. You know, not the first time here.
Go on, why are you smirking?
Nah, because you think the financial constraints that get talked about when it comes to United before windows are always mentioned just before we spend a whole bunch of money in the window. It does feel like that every single time.
Oh, we're not going to much to spend this year, and then we go out and spend 250 million.
Yeah, because we spent quite a lot of money in the summer whilst being told that we had no money. To be fair, we did have a lot of.
Didn't we have to do a little bit of juggling?
We did sell a lot though.
Like, we didn't get Ukai in until we'd sold McTominay. It did feel a little bit more like there was sort of dealings that needed to be done rather than we just were being a bit clever.
We were pushing things to the limit, weren't we?
Yeah.
Should we have a little bit of a chat about Amorim then? I guess we've all watched that interview that he did with Man United. It's the first interview. It's the first time he's spoken since officially being our manager. It was with the club, obviously. He spoke about how he's gonna need time to turn things around, but you buy time with wins. How he wants to play the youngsters and isn't afraid to play them, or he's not going to give them loads of leeway just because they're young. He thinks if they're in the squad already, they're good enough to play for Man United. Also spoke about bringing in a different mindset and a different attitude and ideas that is going to be the first thing he wants to do. What did you make of that interview, Jay, and what do you think of him as a person from what you've seen in that interview?
Yeah, I thought he came across very well in it. He said the right things. I like the fact, he mentioned, I think, the formation, whether it's 3-4-3, I think, or he said 4-3-3. He said it's more about the players, about the character, isn't just about the tactics, which I quite liked. He mentioned the academy as well, because obviously we're hoping or we expect that to play a big part in what he's trying to do. And listen, it's relatively easy to give an interview where you've just been appointed and say the right things, and you've probably had a bit of a brief on certain things, what you meant to say, and the questions lead you into the right kind of answers. But in terms of the way he carried himself as well, I thought he carried himself very well. He looked very confident, relaxed, and there's a likability there. And it doesn't always, you always have to have the likability factor. Sir Alex Ferguson, the greatest manager I've ever seen, and did he always have the likability factor when it came to the media? No, but he was amazing. So it's not the be-all and end-all, but I think in this day and age, as United boss, it helps. It helps if you've got that sort of warmth and charisma that perhaps some of our managers post-Sir Alex have lacked. So yeah, I thought he said the right things and he came across very well. I was impressed.
Do you think the youth integration element of what he was saying, obviously factoring in what James Ducker's put in his article about there being financial constraints coming in the coming windows, that we may be forced to use a little bit more of the youth players and kind of use some of the academy prospects that we do have, because it is a very almost golden-like era that we've got with the 18s. We've got a lot of talent. So we might actually see him use that, because he's been a big advocate for using young players. And to be fair, I think there's a lot of fans out there that wouldn't actually mind us not spending big bucks and actually being a little bit more brave with using some of the players from Carrington. I think that's one of the things that I'm excited about. It's how he uses, if he's able to integrate some of the promising youth players that we have, some of the most promising players that we've had in a long time in the academy, and put him in the first team, especially because he's coming in and he's doing a new system, obviously a lot of talks about his tactics. So, and I think there's a lot of players that are in the youth setup that could probably almost suit it a little bit more than the first teamers.
It does require bravery, that though. I know that's the word that's used a lot. Like, it's very brave tactics because they played an extra midfielder. It's not brave, is it? But I do think as far as your job is concerned, dipping into the academies for players and playing them over buying big, well-established players, that is brave, because that will cost you your job if it doesn't work out. Like, for short term, people love that you've brought, Jack Fletcher or whoever it is into the first team. But if they don't play particularly well and you don't win games, you get sacked just as much as you did if you brought in someone like, I don't even know, a top midfielder for 75 million. You get sacked either way. And bringing in kids who haven't done it before, who haven't proven themselves at any professional level, is a more risky way of doing that. There's a reason why Jose's barely ever done it, why Pep's barely done it at City, why a lot of the top managers in recent years have barely done it. It's not easy to do that, especially bring them in and start winning trophies as well. I don't think long term people will accept 3 fifth place finishes in a row. He has to do that and improve. So it worries me a little bit. I think that, as United, you have to expect the manager to try and bring youngsters in, because that's one of the main things that makes Man United. But on the other hand, if he's being forced into doing that, I don't love that either. I don't think you should bring someone in just because they're a kid. Like, if you don't think they're good enough, well, you ain't got any money to spend, so you have to play them. That would worry me as well.
I think he did mention that when it comes to the young players, if he does play them, it will be on merit, though, on whether they can actually do the job.
But what that James Ducker's article, so I'll give you a couple of the quotes from that for everyone so that we can, see what he's saying there. So he said, United are unlikely to be particularly active in the January transfer window unless an opportunity presents itself. Players leave or injuries or other factors create a problem that has to be addressed. United have averaged 5 new signings every summer for the past 10 years under 4 different managers. All have had little success to show for the huge expenditure. So he's, being told that we're probably not going to get anyone in January, or if we do, it won't be a particularly big outlay. Does that worry you at all, Jay? Like, there's one thing picking academy players based on merit, and there's another thing being forced to pick players because you don't have an alternative. Does that bother you, or do you just think, some of the great players have come through in unlikely circumstances?
Sometimes players can step up, like you say, because they've been sort of not forced, but the most famous example is the class of 92 with that season in 95-96 where Fergie sold in Skinchelsky and Hughes, didn't replace any of them, and just put all his faith in youth. Now, the difference was Sir Alex Ferguson was able to do that, even though he got a bit of stick in the media, especially when we lost on the opening day. But he could get away with it. If it didn't quite work, he still would have been all right, I think.
He won 2 league titles at that point.
Yeah, he'd won 2. Yeah. I think we won 93 and 94. We didn't win in 95, but the pressure was on him because we'd not won in 95 and then to go and do this. I imagine if social media was around in 1995, everyone would have been saying he's lost the plot and calling for him to be sacked. But that was one extreme. In other cases, we've seen it, where like Martial got injured against Midtjylland or in the warm-up, and then Marcus steps up and has a sort of great end to that season and gives himself a chance. So sometimes players just sort of rise to that occasion. Others, it's a little bit more planned. But I'm just hoping that, like Ronnie was alluding to earlier, some of the quality we've got in that academy as well, there is a real quality there. We've also got a pretty decent squad at the minute. I know there's areas where we need to improve, but I think if you look at overall, the squad isn't that bad. My only issue, and I know it's a big one before anyone starts, is goals, and I'll keep banging on about it. But if you look at actually most positions, we've got 2 decent players in that position. Most. There might be, left back with injuries is one where there's obviously an area, and like I've mentioned, the striker, but we have got some good options. So I'm hoping that the youngsters can be brought in the right way because of that. Because we've got options, that if he sees someone like a Chido Obi-Mine or whatever who just keeps scoring loads of goals constantly, he could go, well, let's give this kid a chance from the bench or whatever. Not all our strikers are injured. Who have I got? I'm going to have to use Chido Obi-Mine. Do you know what I mean? I'm hoping it's more a case of him looking at going, look, these youngsters are doing so well that we can give them some minutes, but I'm not over-reliant on him. Because I think that there is some real quality coming through this academy, and I think they've broken a load of records, even by United standards. You look back to the 50s under Busby, we've always had these academy teams that have been amazing, and yet this team is breaking all the records. This team is the one that's winning the most amount of games on the spin and has won the most amount of games and has got all these players that everyone like Shea Lacey, like Harry Amas, like Chido Obi-Mine, who's just come in. Seka Kone has come in, I know he got injured. Jace Fitzgerald, these players where people go in, these are really gifted. These are like players to keep an eye on. So I'm feeling pretty positive, and I think he's the right guy for that.
I think the academy's almost, I know a lot of people know how well they're doing, but do you know, because they didn't win the FA Youth Cup last season, and for a lot of more, and I don't go to academy games, so I'm not particularly an expert, but I think for a lot of people, the FA Youth Cup is a lot of fans' way of knowing who's the best young team in the country.
I agree with that.
Because especially with United's history in it, and different teams winning it down the years and all that, I think that's the marker. And because they got knocked out, was it Preston who knocked him out?
It was something weird. The record last season was ridiculous, and then it was like that was the thing that won blot on the record.
And I think if they'd have won that, it would have drawn a bit more mainstream attention to the fact that, like you said, Jay, statistically, this is the best young academy team we've ever had. Like no United academy team has ever won as many games, scoring as many goals, conceding as few, I don't think, as this one in our history.
And that's absurd. That's not even just being comparative to our 18s or youth teams of the past. It's even just to literally nationally, but with the other Cat 1 academies like City, whether it's a Blackburn or a Chelsea or an Arsenal. Even compared to them, this is by far one of the best youth teams in terms of statistically that there's been. And that's not just United, that's just anywhere really.
It's absolutely crazy.
In terms of England. How that translates, obviously, you don't know. And one thing that we have said as fans is when you're talking about the likes of Mourinho and Pep, it's usually these clubs have a little bit more success and stability to fall back on, where it's a little bit of an easier environment for these academy players to go into anyway. Because you always mentioned to me upstairs anyway, Joe, about the transition that almost Foden had into the City team.
Jay talks about that more.
And Jay talks about it as well.
I know where everyone's heading on that, right? But it's just, for me, like, I fucking hate to say it, but a perfect example of how you bring in a young player. Like, into a team that's winning loads of games, has loads of possession. He's brought in 6 games in his first season, cameos, 93 minutes, 94 minutes, 89 minutes, all that. Then it's like 12 games the next season. Just this gradual progression where at United in the past it's been like, me and you were talking about Adnan Januzaj, something like that earlier, where it's you throw him in.
Now you're
that's what I was going to say. I think with the academy players like that breakthrough at United, there's almost this like saviour complex straight away. They're gonna where they're playing.
You need to fix this.
They're playing every week, starting every week. They're heavily relied upon because an academy graduate ends up being better than someone we spent £50 million on. It's usually been what's happened with our recruitment. And then you've got the likes of...
but you're right,
because then you have maybe coming in and all of a sudden they're like immediately at the age of 19 really important players in the team with a lot of pressure and expectation without the time to kind of grow into it. And you've had Garnacho, like last season, what did he have to start 30 games in a row?
Yeah, when you think we've got £150 million worth of wingers in Sancho and Antony,
and he's got
who neither of them can get a game ahead of Garnacho because they're not as good as him. Like, and in an ideal world, that wouldn't be the case, would it? We wouldn't have wasted 150 million quid's worth.
So hopefully that is a difference.
Or more, 160.
It's true. And what Jay said earlier was bang on. I think if you actually look at United's squad, if it wasn't for the fact that we had a new manager come in that might obviously have a different philosophy and, as we've seen, different tactics that might require different profiles of players, then we wouldn't be looking at January as in we need reinforcements, because United's squad right now pretty much has 2 players at every single position. Obviously,
But now,
apart from where?
Left back, but they're coming back now.
Malacia and Shaw.
Yeah, but they haven't been playing.
On the right, you got Maz and you got Delo. You've got how many centre backs have we got? We've got midfielders. You got Casemiro, Eriksen.
I think you made the point of in centre backs in terms of the squad. You could argue we've got the strongest group of centre backs in the league in terms of the group.
I don't think anyone's got 6 centre backs as good as our 6.
It's just availability. So I don't. So that's why I think January would only be a focus point, because we've got a new gaffer in that might need someone else to come in that suits it. Because it depends whether
I do think another winger or striker is going to be needed regardless of who the manager is. Just we've got 3 wingers. Like, that isn't enough for 2 players, 2 positions every week. Like, do you know what I mean? Ahmad, I know Anthony's a winger, but he's just not fancied by anyone at all. Like, Ahmad, Garnacho and Rashford are our 3 starting wingers. I don't think that's enough personally, especially when Ahmad's never been prolific, Garnacho's up and down, Rashford
I think the wingers
up and down.
I think a winger's really important.
Yeah.
And that's unfortunate because we've spent how much we've spent. But January's not really a window that teams utilise anymore, especially with FFP and PSR.
Unless someone's out of contract.
Do you know what I mean? And obviously clubs are obviously a little bit less willing to sell in the middle of a season as well. So
have we ever, is it literally ever in Vidic last time?
Bruno Fernandes?
Oh, sorry, Bruno.
That's
great answer.
I was
going to say when's the last time we had a really good but you're right, Bruno. Because even and don't get me wrong, I love Juan Mata. I do. And I think he's a good sign, but he didn't quite do what he was brought in that January to do.
No,
which was basically save David Moyes' job and get us into the Champions League spots.
He was the best player in the league the year.
Yeah, and I know it was a poison chat. No one, I don't think you could have brought in prime bloody Messi at that stage, and you wouldn't have probably done it.
He was prime at that point.
Yeah, but he didn't do what we spent a club record on, which was get him in might salvage the season. It didn't. And you're right, Bruno was obviously a fantastic signing, but some of the signings, it feels in the past as well, we've made signings almost knowing that they're not that good, but it's all we can get.
They're ghost.
And Gallo, no respect to him. It's like, oh, well, we can't get anyone else, but it's better than now.
They weren't going to push us back into title contention, and we knew that.
Yeah, that's
it
mad,
was a
innit,
stopgap
to have that attitude. So yeah, I think you're right, and I think there is something there for Amorim to work with. Someone made the point just before I get into a super chat. I think it was. Forgive me.
Come on.
It was Altered something. Who made the point about it's the under 18s or the under 19s that is a team rather than under 21s that everyone's talking about. I think it is.
Yeah.
If you look at the players that everyone's raving about, the likes of Shea Lacey and Obi Martin and some of the others, a lot of them are 17 and 18 rather than...
The under-21s is a bit of a weird one because the 23s was an even more exaggerated version of this.
Yeah.
But typically, the players who go on to be the best of the best don't play that much for the under-21s.
No.
Because if you're that good, you're into the first team or a first team, whether that be on loan or United, by the age of about 18, 19, typically.
It's very rarely that if you're still playing for the 23s at 19, 20, that you're actually going to make it. I know you do get the odd exceptions. I think McTominay came on quite late.
Yeah.
Even Lingard
was 23, I think, when he made his.
But he'd been out on loan.
You're right. Yeah.
A couple of loans, but
because I think Mainu had only played 6 or 7 games for the under-21s. You will often go straight from the under-18s into training with the first team, maybe a couple of minutes here, then go back to the 18s or then the 21. Typically, if you've played a lot of games for the 21s, or do we even have a 23s anymore?
No,
it's
just 21s. But I think you
typically aren't going to
pathway-wise. I think they know which players will probably break through.
That was the thing with Ghana, wasn't it? Because Ghana was very. I went to see him for the under-23s a couple of times, and he was the star. Yeah. He was being compared to Michael Carrick, and I know he's a bit different, but his range of passing. I remember watching him where he was like, everyone was very bad. He scored when we was there, went there a couple of times, but he gets to that age where it's like, if he's gonna make it at United, he's got to start getting some minutes, and he just wasn't. And then obviously everyone was up in arms when he went to Everton for 10 million or whatever it is. I can't believe he's gone for 10 million, but he wasn't getting a look.
You usually have to be a standout, and it usually have to be an absolute, because the likes of like Meany were standouts, Garnacho was standouts, Greenwood was like a standout. Even if you go further back, people always mention Danny Welbeck when he came up through the ranks. Apparently, he was the best player by far at every age group before he came.
He was banging. Was it 4 goals he scored against City in the academy? He scored. Yeah. I'm sure it was either 3.
And obviously he's one of the best strikers.
He's one of the best strikers the league's ever seen.
It's weird, though, isn't it? Because it is. I know it's a bit obvious, but usually the best players are noticeably better than the players around them, or at least stand out, because you have to. Because any given under 18s, unfortunately, you're going to be lucky if 2 of those make it as first team regulars from a whole squad of 20 or whatever. Yeah. So they're going to have to stand out in that team. The weird thing at the minute is we've got this team where there's maybe 7 or 8 players who stand out, which is almost unheard of. It remains to be seen. How often do 2 players come through from the same team and play more than 100 games for United or a top team? Is so rare. Yeah. Even these great
Chelsea are probably get the most out of their academies.
They sell a lot of them
for very good profit, and they actually go on to be good players.
Their policy, though, Chelsea is nuts, in it. They accumulate so many players.
That's what they did, isn't it? They decided to make money.
Was it a transfer ban? It was a transfer ban that helped Chelsea as well.
Because they had like 87 players out on loan. Yeah. They just went, right, well, we'll just call in we'll get Sam Abraham and Mason Mount,
Reece James. Yeah. All burst through as star players because...
And then Kovacic didn't count as a transfer.
Because he was already on loan with an option to buy, but they were allowed to do it because they'd already registered him.
It's very. I'll get in super chat first. Reefer says Obi Martin, fantastic talent from Denmark like Rasmus, but he's not ready for first team. The next couple of years, if you have seen him, you know this nonsense needs to stop. Laughing emoji. Okay, there we go. Fellas.
Oh yeah, here we go.
Do you want your grooming routine to be a one-time, one and done deal? Yeah? Mm-hmm. Well, do you?
I do, yeah.
Yeah, good. Do you?
Yeah.
Right, good. I'm glad
you got me involved in this.
Why not? It's about time you're involved, mate. You're well involved.
In the
The days of using the same trimmer for your beard and your balls are over, because our friends at Manscaped have got you covered with the beard and balls bundle, yeah? They've got the Lawnmower 5.0 Ultra for your nether regions, and they've also got the Beard Hedger for your face. And thanks to the code Paddock20, and clicking on the link in the description, you can get 20% off. I prefer the code
Paddock24 personally.
Paddock24. Do you know what, Joe? We'll go with that.
Yeah.
Let's go with the code
Paddock24. Let's do that,
yeah. We'll go with the code Paddock24. Why not? I'm listening to you, yeah. You make a good case there. Using the code Paddock24, clicking on the link in the description, you get 20% off and free shipping. But Joseph, when we're getting 20% off what?
Well, I used mine this morning, actually. Just tied it up a little bit, got the neck tied up. I don't like to go too close.
I like the way you faded it.
Just got a little fade.
Do you know what I mean? He's faded his neck hair, hasn't it?
A little bit.
It doesn't stop.
I don't want it to be too aggressive, but that's the thing.
It gradually.
You can look like this, like you always say, Jake. It can look like yours as well. You can look like Ronaldo's, a little bit more crisp, a little bit more
Ronaldo's looking very good today,
maybe than mine. I like mine to have a little bit more of a kind of naturally weathered look, but still have some kind of semblance of shape to it. But you can do whatever you want, and that's the great thing with Manscaped. It's got the skin-safe blades as well, which reduce cuts and nicks. It's fantastic. There's the 20 different lengths on the beard hedger. There's also, of course, the waterproof. I think that goes under the radar how important waterproof is.
Well, both of them, the Lawnmower 5.0 and the beard hedger, are both waterproof.
This is a bit gross, but when you do it in the bath or the shower, it's immediately getting. You probably should get it out of the plug hole, but like you don't want pubes all over the floor in your back bedroom, do you? However, just do it either sit. I either do it stood up in the bath, and just put it straight down the sink, and then when it gets blocked, Lizzie shouts at me.
Right.
Or I go side saddle on the toilet.
Side saddle. Yeah.
I ride side saddle.
Yeah, I've walked in on him doing this when we were on tour, haven't I?
I'll ride side saddle on the toilet and just sort of drop the pubes straight in there.
Yeah.
And then flush them away. Again, maybe not recommended, but the great thing is because it's waterproof, you can do basically whatever you want. Do it out in the pouring rain.
Go out in the garden like I do and shave your balls.
Yeah, you do it in a barrel at the top of Niagara Falls sometimes, don't you?
Yeah, I do it in a barrel on the Niagara Falls, on the school run, wherever.
On the what?
Use the code Paddock24 for 20% off and free shipping with manscaped.com. Click on the link in the description, go and check them out. And it's perfect time for Christmas as well. Get your Christmas presents in for the person in your life. Your balls will thank you. Not the school run, Joe. We told you about that. Luckily, it's
my beard.
Luckily, it's a night school for adults.
Yes.
He meant his beard. Let's just clear that up. Can we talk about Phil Foden a sec?
Yeah,
it's not a United thing.
Oh, look at you. I'm from Stockport. Let's talk about Phil Foden and Cole Palmer and Kobe Mainu. Pathetic.
Cole Palmer's with Shaw, isn't
he? Yeah.
But he's got Stockport.
He went there once. Did he get the 192 once? Now he's from Stockport.
Was he tracking him?
I'm not from Stockport. Anyway, what's going on with him? As just generally.
Wait, you just completely derailed the pod, innit?
Let's
talk about Foden.
Because you mentioned Foden before.
Yeah.
What's up with Phil Foden? Why?
I feel like this is a very existential question.
No, but like, why?
Phil Foden?
What is he? What's he going to be? Because
he's having a bad patch, I guess.
But he does this though, where
does he?
Yeah,
he was just PFA player of the year.
Exactly, and that only makes my point for me, Ronaldo. He'll have a spell where he gets 9 goals in 12 games, and then Pep
3
literally
against us.
Always scores against United, and then Pep literally will play him like 40 minutes for the next 2 months. And then he'll come back. Like, when is he going to be a player that plays every week and he's just good season to season? Like, why is it, like, he didn't do anything at all for England and never has in like nearly 50 appearances. So it's not like a little blip. He's been terrible for England his whole England career. He's in his mid-20s. He's obviously amazing last season, wins PFA Player of the Year, and probably rightly so. But like, now he's gone back to not even sure to start for a team that's actually struggling in Man City. Like, what is he? Is he a world-class player or not?
I think we're glad. I don't know. I think me and Jay are really glad that Foden's struggling.
Yeah, I am as well.
That sounds really harsh.
But do you not?
That's woke nonsense to say that a City player struggling is not good news for us. Or we're not happy about it. I'm not wishing injury on the kid, but if he's playing shit and good.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
I don't care enough about his performances.
Yeah, I'll be honest with you. I think I've noticed this. I know you've brought it up a few times, and I get it. I feel like with Pep, there's a bit of, I don't know, almost like he's proving a point at times with Foden. Like, you're my guy that I brought through the academy.
He's not quite the player people want him to be.
I'm going to drop you now for a month because you've done something in training I didn't like, or I've got Jack Grealish or whoever. I don't need to play you every game, and I can still win the league by doing what I'm doing. And maybe there's a little element of that. The weird thing for me with Foden is the England thing. Because it annoys when people say Phil Foden's the greatest English footballer we've ever had. Well, he's not, is he? Because he'd have done it for his country. Yeah. And I'm not Mr. England, but if you are going to put a stake in the claim of being the greatest English footballer ever, then to step anywhere near out of Bobby Charlton's shadow, you have to perform at a major tournament. Yep. Now, Wayne Rooney did it when he was a kid at Euro 2004, I think it was. We've seen it, obviously, Bobby Charlton helped win us the World Cup.
Even Harry Kane.
Gaza did it twice in Euro 96 and in Italia 90. You have to have that on your CV. Like, you've stepped up for your country in a major tournament. And Phil Foden hasn't.
Phil Foden not even stepped up in a friendly. I think he got 2 goals in 47 games. Like, turn up against Liechtenstein before you start worrying about turning up in a major tournament. Like, Phil Foden has been bang average or worse every single time he's ever played for England. Yeah. That's not.
You know the best game he had?
There's been a desperation.
When him and Manu played together. I think it was against Iceland or something at Wembley.
Yeah,
and they both
tippy-tapping it all over.
I can't remember it was. It might have.
There has been a media desperation for him to be like.
They want him to the face.
Like, amazing.
Like when he dyed his hair and it's like he's the new Gaza and all that. And I don't blame him because he's trying to, he's only a young lad or whatever, but he's never done anything in England's shirt that makes me think he's comparable to Gaza. I know for his club he has, obviously he's done loads for him and he's won all the trophies and Ronnie said like he's, whatever player of the year. But that it's just, I think that's a bit weird that he's not, because sometimes for England you're playing against teams that aren't even that good. Yeah. You're not playing against Premier League standard teams.
25% of the time you're playing against players who aren't Premier League level.
No.
Like maybe a quarter of the games you're playing against players of that standard. And you think he'd be able to skin someone. He does it against United every time we play.
Look at Christian Eriksen in the Euros.
Yeah.
Christian Eriksen, whenever I watched Denmark, was mint. Yeah, and he sort of reminded everyone, and don't write me off just yet, and he's in a team where a lot of the players around him are nowhere near the calibre of what Foden's got around him. I know. But it feels like we've replaced the Lampard and Gerrard argument with the Foden and Bellingham
But Bellingham's just way better for England than Foden is, unfortunately.
I get that, but it feels like for whatever reason, those two can't work together and can't play together and can't operate in the same space.
Again, and just to repeat myself, not that Foden was amazing before Bellingham arrived. Bellingham's 4 years younger than Foden. He's had plenty of time to establish himself and keep Bellingham at arm's length in that squad. Bellingham is just turned up as an 18-year-old playing for England and was better than Foden. Anyway, not that I particularly care. When you talk about him, I always think
on Ipswich.
No, I want to talk about a bit more about Amorim, actually. Yeah. Okay. Can we have a little bit, because people might not know, a little bit of a sort of what he's done in his career, how he's got to the place that he is now.
Yeah.
So I think it's nice to hear a bit.
Did you do the quiz? I know we're not, advocating doing anything that United do.
Doing quizzes?
But I
think you're allowed to advocate a Man United's official quiz.
Yeah, okay, fair enough. Did you do it?
You're not going to get called a Glazer stooge for doing a quiz.
It's a grey area. Because I got 12 out of 20 on it.
What was it? The Amorim quiz?
Yeah, the Amorim quiz. Have you done it?
No.
Have you done it?
I haven't done it.
Do you know what?
Right,
you go talk about what you're doing now.
Do you reckon I win again, like Wordle?
So when he first started out, this is interesting.
Yeah, I like that.
He started at the Faculty of Human Kinetics at the University of Lisbon. That's quite interesting, isn't it? That's the sort of stuff you did, isn't it, Ronaldo? What did you do at uni?
I did communication and media studies. I didn't do Faculty of Human Kinetics. What is that? Is like biomechanics and that, like
it
the way.
Like
we'll do it the way. Right, sorry, we'll do the quiz. Right, join in, but I'm going to quiz these two. I don't remember my answers. I don't know whether I was right or not. In which year was Ruben born? 83, 84, 85.
1983.
Sorry, yeah.
85.
85.
Right. From which Portuguese city does he hail? Braga, Lisbon, or Porto?
I'm going to guess Braga just because he managed Lisbon. But I don't know.
Right, you're saying Braga, you're saying Lisbon. Yeah. I'll be the deciding vote. I'll go.
You've already done this.
You've already done it.
I don't know I don't know which one's got right and wrong.
He just said, he didn't tell you what you got.
I can't
right.
remember. I was busy when I did it. He just told me I got 12 out of 20, and then I threw my phone on the floor and fucking stormed.
Bought a new one.
Yeah. Right. So you're saying Braga, you're saying Lisbon.
We haven't got the time for this.
Right, I'll go Lisbon. Right. Yeah. I don't know. Sorry, it was the first one I saw, Ronnie. Cool. Ruben began his playing career at Belenenses, moving to which Portuguese giant in 2008? Benfica, Porto, or Sporting?
Benfica.
I'm pretty sure I got that one wrong.
He definitely played for Benfica.
While on loan with Braga in 2012, he played at Old Trafford. United won 3-2 that day. But which current Red was in our 11? Evans, Heaton, or Shaw?
Evans.
Evans is Evans. I know that one because didn't he score?
Probably.
He won 14 caps for Portugal, but how many major tournaments did he play at?
Played in
1, 2 or 3.
Played in 2.
Mate, that was so convincing. That.
Yeah. Did you know that, or are you just guessing?
2010 World Cup and 2014.
Right. Which then Premier League player was he called up to replace in the 2010 World Cup squad due to injury?
So it's not 2000.
Right, so you've got Ricardo Carvalho, you've got Deco, you've got Nane, and who's that kid there?
Let's have a look.
Looks like Paul Konchesky.
That's Raul Meireles.
Raul Meireles.
Yeah.
That's a throwback.
I think he's replacing Meireles.
Yeah, all right, we'll go with that then.
Yeah.
Sorry, it takes a little while. Which of these Reds was not a teammate of Ruben's at Benfica? Di Maria, Lindelof, Matic, or Karol Poborski?
Got to be Poborski, isn't it?
Poborski feels a bit before
Poborski's
this.
like 50.
How old's Lindelof?
He could have been, though. Lindelof definitely did play with him. I've seen pictures.
Did Matic?
I think Matic probably did, because Matic and Lindelof played together.
Did Di Maria? Let's go Poborski.
No, I'm saying Di Maria. I don't think.
Oh shit! I'm sorry.
Oh well.
In which Asian country did he play in 2015-16? His final season before retirement.
What are the options?
China, Japan, Qatar, Saudi Arabia.
I'm
Qatar.
going to guess China.
Qatar.
Right, I'll go with Ronnie because I went with you the last time.
I know it's Qatar.
I don't.
Is it?
All right, okay. Who was United manager when Ruben Amorim completed a brief coaching course
Jose
at Carrington?
Mourinho.
Yeah. At which lower league club did he start his managerial journey in 2018? Casa Pia, Rio Ave, or Santa Clara?
I think it's Casapia.
Casapia.
Right, okay, well, you didn't need to tell everyone you cheated.
I don't know if I did read it.
Which trophy did he manage to win at second club Braga, even though he was only in charge for 13 games?
Cup.
Premier Liga,
No.
Taça de Liga, or Taça de Portugal?
Taça de Liga.
Taça de Liga.
I don't know which one it is, but it's the cup.
I'll go with Taça de Liga. I take it that's like a... Right. Ruben won the
Lot
top
of
flight
questions here,
with
isn't there?
Sporting in his first full season in charge. It was their first title in how many years?
19.
19. I think we all know that. I think we're nearly done. How many league games did they lose in the 2021 campaign?
2.
2. What's 0, 1 or 2?
I don't know these.
Right, I'll go with 2. I think we're right at the end. Which formation did Ruben notably use while at
3-4-3.
Sporting? Yeah, it's 3-4-3, 4-3-3, or somewhere else I've not read.
3-4.
Which Premier League club did Sporting famously eliminate from Europe during
Arsenal.
the 22-23 season? Arsenal, Liverpool, or City? Arsenal, innit?
Arsenal.
You had a big party, didn't you?
Yeah. In taking the piss out of him, yeah.
Sporting beat City in his final home game as manager. What was the final score?
4-1.
Yeah, it says 3-1, 4-1, or 5-1. And which date was Ruben officially announced as United's new head coach? 31st of October,
Tuesday.
1st of November, or 2nd of November?
It was Tuesday, whatever that is. it Tuesday?
So that would be the 19th. So that would be
I think the second.
yeah, all right, we'll go with the 2nd. Ruben is still the first man to take charge of United while in his 30s since Atkinson, Fergie, Wilf McGuinness, or Sexton.
It's not Fergie or Atkinson, is it?
So we'll go Wilf McGuinness. I think
Yeah,
he
go
was
on.
only a youngster when he took over from
That's back in your
St
day,
Apple's
wasn't
Bay. Which of these Reds has been previously coached by Amorim? Anthony, Delo, Martinez, Ugarte. It's got to be
Ugarte.
Ugarte, that one in it. Sorry, I shouldn't have even read that out. I should have just clicked on it. And who will we face in Amorim's first home game in charge? Bodo Glimt, Everton, or Ipswich? Home game.
Is it not
Home game.
Bodo Glimt?
I think it is Bodo Glimt, and I reckon that'll be a sellout.
Here we go.
We got 17. Can I have
on.
my single?
That's not bad, that.
Single. Have you got my single there? There you go. You can see it. It's a bit.
Look at that.
17.
I'm happy
That's
with that.
5 better than I
We
did.
definitely would have passed.
We did well there.
Yeah, we are officially card-carrying members of the Ruben Amorim fan club.
So here we go then, back to a little bit more about him. He did an internship at United in 2018. He spoke about Jose and said about the comparisons that him and Jose have been sort of receiving. He said that Mourinho is one of a kind. There won't be another Mourinho. Mourinho is unique. Then he started at Casa Pia, as we just found out there. Braga B, then went to Sporting, obviously. The mad thing about the Sporting thing is, he was at Braga for what was it, 6 months or 3 months or something ridiculous. Sporting then paid 10 million euros to get him as their manager. They hadn't won a league title in nearly 20 years. He's barely even a manager. And they spent 10 million euros on him. That is a ridiculously bold thing to do, isn't it?
Yeah.
When you think about it, I think at the time he was the second or third most expensive manager ever. And it's some unknown guy from a team far below them that they probably could have got for cheap.
There had
that's
to be,
mad, isn't
there
it?
had to be some sort of in the industry, something was.
Do you think something dodgy went on there?
No, not dodgy, but the industry might have, because they know things that we don't, and they must have known that he had something special about him.
Yeah.
Which is why they snapped him up, and I think it worked out pretty well for Sporting Lisbon.
So what would he have been then? 33?
No, 35.
All right, sorry, 35.
4 years ago, wasn't it?
Yeah, so 35 years old as well. Very young.
He's a
isn't it?
kid.
Yeah.
And how much
Manager
have we
terms.
paid for him again?
Similar, about 10 to 15 million.
yeah,
sure.
I think we paid an extra mil to get him
Basically flipped it.
early doors.
Yeah, it's mad, isn't it? Like, but that to me, like you said, Ronaldo, there's these things that go on in football that we think we know everything because we see 90 minutes once or twice a week. The inside workings, the conversations, the data, the kind of knowledge that goes on the inside or behind the doors of football is so much bigger than what we see. And I think like the idea of spending 10 million euros on a bloke who, you know, seems like he could be almost semi-pro. I know he's not, but he's literally taking his first steps into professional management is absurd. But then the sort of people who are looking at the game, who have been hearing about this guy probably since he was in his late 20s as a player, talking about football, and people who even coached him maybe like, he's got a different brain to some of the other players I've coached. Like, he is unique in terms of what he brings. But he'll have been spoken about for years. Like Wayne Rooney, a lot of people saw him when he was 16 at Everton. People have known about him since he was 8 and 7 as this person who stood out. Like, football goes way beyond what we see, and that's sort of proof. Course. Yeah.
The industry of obviously resources and intel that we don't have. So the way that they perceive managers and players just won't be the same way that we do. So that's probably, so they probably saw it, that 10 million as a because that is a lot for a club like Sporting Lisbon. Yeah. I'm not going to lie to you, the spending power and the finances in the Portuguese league isn't that big.
Well, it says that,
and so
the record fee for a player was 20 million for Victor Gyökeres.
So they must have known that there was something special about him, and then obviously it's worked, because that is a lot of money to pay for someone, especially for a club like Sporting Lisbon, where they can't be loosey-goosey with their expenditure and the money that they spend, especially on players, never mind a manager. Because what if that went pear-shaped? That would look very bad on them, but obviously it's worked out, and they've had a level of success that they've not had in years, and they've managed to get, 10 million out of United or so for his services as well.
I mean, it would make him Sporting Lisbon's 11th highest ever signing, including players.
That's mad.
They've only got 10 players who cost more than him, and 11s and 11.5, 13. Like you said, I think depending on where you look, Ugarte or Gyökeres were the most expensive too, both around 24 million euros. But like their manager, who'd been managing for a few months, is their 11th most expensive signing. Like, that's incredible.
That's
so
like United spending like
rated.
60 million on him, innit?
Yeah.
Something like
everything about him suggests that we might finish top.
Can I bring something about him? I think
the way we made it out anyway.
Do you know the personality side of it? And I know we've spoken about it a lot, and the fact that he's got this sort of charisma and he's smiley and he seems like a
smiley,
more
happy
kind
people.
of easy to get along with. I almost feel like he might bring a little bit of the best of some of our previous managers. Like with Ten Hag, I know that eventually the tactics didn't work, and we never got to a place where it made much sense. But I think in terms of a tactical vision, he had a very strong one. Whether it was successful or not, I don't think Ten Hag was someone that was patting you on the back and saying, "Play for the shirt today, lads, off you go." He was drilling ideas into him. And I think Solskjaer had tactics as well, but maybe not quite as modern and as detailed as we see with other coaches. But what Solskjaer had that was, I think, the best we've had, other than maybe Jose's second season, was getting the players as a squad to be happy and to enjoy playing for Man United. And it looked like, at least, they got on with each other to the most you can expect of 25 randomly assembled people on shitloads of money. They looked like they got on pretty well, and he defended his players really well in the press. But at times, tactically, maybe we were let down in terms of breaking down deep blocks and that sort of thing. It almost feels like Amorim's got a little bit of both of that. He's got obviously very strong tactical vision and something, he's mentioned it at detail in the past, but also he looks like someone who loves defending his players and is easy to get along with, and has that, hopefully he can make it fun to turn up for training and players want to sort of run through brick walls for him. And maybe that combination of the two will be the difference, because we've had good coaches in different areas over the last few years, but I think someone who brings both of those things together might be able to push us to that next step, hopefully.
Yeah, because in a couple of the interviews that I've seen, one thing that stood out is he seems like he will be adaptable, but he also looks like he's not easily satisfied, and he's always striving to be better, and almost like meticulous in a way that he wants things to constantly improve. Because one thing that we often was criticised about Ten Hag is he did seem to like pat himself on the back a lot after games,
especially by the end, wasn't it?
Especially by the end, after the games, or kind of having like a delusional point of view on how the team's performed because the result might have went our way, Whereas I saw his interview after he beat City 4-1, and he almost made it seem like there was a lot that went wrong.
It's like we were very lucky
better,
today.
We're very lucky.
Yeah.
And that's the sort of thing that I didn't really see much from Ten Hag, where Ten Hag would come out and then us fans would be like, have we seen the same game as him? Or, do you know what I mean? And I think sometimes you're worried about whether that lack of accountability in that aspect led to us constantly churning out the same performances, because he might have thought that nothing was wrong.
Yeah.
And I think if Amorim has a little bit of a difference to that, it would improve, because I think one thing that we need to have as the United manager is a knowledge of the standards that need to be upheld and not letting it drop too low. Because I think what's happened was, over the past 18 months, I thought the standards and expectation, they drop a little bit too far. I know we're at a stage in a rebuild where we're nowhere near competing, but I think there was almost too much of an acceptance of things that were almost really poor for a club like United, in my opinion. Because I was looking at it, and sometimes we'd play like slightly better than awful, and then we'd be getting happy about it because it felt like, because we used to being a bit less shit. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But from what I've seen, do you know what I mean? From what I've seen from Amorim, anyway,
you always made that point about
I'm excited.
the improvement we needed to see this season for Ten Hag to keep his job was a big improvement. You can't go from 8th to 6th. Well, maybe, but if that might not be a big enough improvement, there has to be something where you can go, okay, this is much better. And obviously, at the beginning this season, we were probably worse than we were last season, which is why he's got sacked. I'm just curious with the Amorim thing, because, and you two correct me, I didn't hear many noises in the summer about him at United.
No, I think it
was that.
I mentioned this the other week.
Was that because we didn't look at him, or because he was? I don't know what because he wasn't as revered as he was.
No,
at the beginning of the season when he went on that run, because surely, you know, winning 2 titles and ending that drought, you'd have thought he's someone that anyone would have been looking at. I think he was linked with Liverpool, linked with City a couple of years ago, and then linked with even West Ham. But then when we were talking to like the likes of Thomas Frank and Tuchel and Potter was being mooted, and maybe Gareth Southgate, although that did feel a little bit, you know, unlikely. And I can't remember, and forgive me for getting it wrong. I think there was one news I did, and this was a while ago, where I talked about Amorim coming to United, and it certainly wasn't in the context of we've been speaking to him when we were doing all these all these managerial interviews.
Yeah, not to be that guy, but when I went on 5 Live when he first got announced, I asked a similar question. Right. And there was a few journalists on there.
I love that you put it on him.
Wait, what was you on?
BBC Radio 5 Live.
5 Live?
Yeah.
With a lot of like notable, reputable journalists.
Peter Schmeichel was there.
Yeah.
Your mate, Jay.
Make sure you remember me and
City
Jay.
Legends, that's up to you.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to make sure that he remembers us. That's all. That's why.
Yeah, I remember you. Rivaldo, isn't it? So I asked that question, and they said basically that one of the reasons that he wasn't as high up on the list is because after the whole debacle that he'd had with West Ham, where he came to England, had this interview, this was in the March or the April, and couldn't really thrash it out, and then kind of had to sort of sing for his supper when he got back to Portugal. He apologised publicly to the fans for sort of dancing with opposition teams and just, you know, disrespecting the fans. And I think there was a feeling maybe that he wasn't really an option at that point. And I don't know whether if we would have really pushed it, we could have got him, but I think he'd already had a slightly embarrassing spell of being touted around different clubs and then, you know, having to go back to Sporting and say, I'm really sorry for what I've done, basically. So I think maybe they didn't, that's what they said, was that they didn't really think we could get him.
All right, okay, that's fair enough. Someone's mentioned in the chat, Ross Murphy, Peter Schmeichel turns 61 today. Happy birthday to Peter Schmeichel.
Happy birthday to Peter Schmeichel, one of the greatest goalkeepers of all time.
Won a lot of trophies at United, did he?
Someone that also...
undisputable. The amount of trophies he won.
Another one in the line of good appointments that we've had from Sporting Lisbon, isn't it?
Yeah.
What?
Schmeichel.
What?
Wait, am I wrong? Did he not play?
Well, yeah, we didn't get him from Sporting Lisbon. We got him from Brombury, I think.
But someone that...
Yeah, there's a connection there, though, is what you're getting at. Yeah. Doyle, welcome to the Academy. Thank you for your support. Colin Wilmot says, I honestly can't see Rashi playing under Ruben Amorim unless it's as a 9. If this 3-4-3 myth is to be believed. Thoughts, lads, up the paddock.
I love that he has played 3-4-3 for most of the last 4 years. It's not necessarily a myth. But I don't know, I always feel like maybe long term it might not work, but the people who have got the most talent tend to play. And I do think that when he's just in terms of raw ability and what he can do with the football, Rashford is one of our most talented players.
Do you know what I find telling? We did a video where we spoke about players that potentially could shine or thrive under Ruben Amorim, and you mentioned Anthony. Now you look at what Anthony's done in a red shirt, and you got a little bit of pushback on it, but not a lot. A lot of people going, okay, yeah, I could see this. Like, I think we did a sell or keep, and I mentioned keeping Marcus Rashford. And the amount of people that were just vehemently against that idea and hammering him and were like, oh my God, Ruben Jay, what you like, he's all like. And then you see it over the weekend where he was, he went to New York in his bathrobe, whatever it was, and everyone lost their mind.
Even fluffy
like,
top and that.
And I'm past caring about what players wear. I'm just going to put it out there. Yeah. I do not care. I never have. And that's not just because I'm Marcus Rashford's biggest fan or whatever. I'm just not bothered. But I've noticed, like, it seems as though the fan base has just completely, not everyone obviously, but the majority have just given up with Marcus Rashford to the point where even the suggestion of him doing all right gets
just hammered. I thought the uproar about him being at this basketball game during international break was so overboard. I thought it was embarrassing.
I to be honest with you, things that anger me
from hating him.
My only problem with it, I thought the outfit was bad. Not that I thought it was, he shouldn't be wearing stuff like that, or that, I just thought it didn't look great.
It looked like
who cares?
What's them like? I've got one of them at home, mate. It's like
do you know what people put on after they go wild swimming?
Yeah, like
just like 50-year-old women who get out
just a lot more expensive.
Hot chocolate.
Yeah, mine's not. Yeah. Mine's from Primark.
Yeah, it's not Louis Vuitton. 15 grand.
It probably costs more than my house. But it was like
outside tickets.
I would never have gone out dressed like that.
For $8 a ticket.
Yeah. Who cares? Who cares what he's wearing?
There's nothing wrong with him, because a lot of people are saying he could have been there for Amorim's arrival. Obviously, he's not away with England. He could have got some early training in. He could have picked Amorim's brain a little bit. What do you see from me, etc. But when he does do extra training, though, and that's published, whether it's with RH or when he was doing extra running the other week, or when he put literally a day after the Knicks game, he was in the gym training as well. I think he'd been training at the Nike facility in Portland as well. People are saying that's for PR when he does that. Do you know what I mean? People are saying when he's training, oh, that's PR. But then when he goes to a Knicks game for one night, that he's not concentrated and he doesn't care about football. Yeah. So it's just basically comes to a point where Rashford's that hated by a majority of the fan base, and people are that fed up of him that just any excuse that they have, they can beat him.
It just comes back to the fundamental truth about football. Whether you're a manager, a player, an owner, whatever, play well, win football matches, and you can do pretty much what you want. Unfortunately, that's all there is to it.
I said that. That's what I will say when it comes to the fans is, if Rashford was crazily in form, banging them in and playing well, no one would care.
This was January.
No one would care about what he's doing. But I think it's because he's not. Then people are thinking, no.
Do you remember when he got pictured with that necklace that had the chain, with Rashi on or whatever it was? And everyone was going mental then, like, what's he doing? I was just like...
Isn't that to let people know that if they touch him, they might get a skin condition?
Called Rashi.
Yeah, it's like, just so you know.
Like them post-it notes do you have to put around my house where it says, this is hot and burny.
Yeah,
not for the kids, for me.
Yeah, exactly.
So I don't put my hand on the hot.
I assumed it was that, like, don't touch me, I've got really bad eczema.
Format quarantine kind of...
Yeah, Rashi, just like leave it.
Nice.
You just need the...
Which brings us on nicely to our Wally of the Week.
Very well said.
Yes, I think we've got a graphic.
It's on the way.
It's on the way.
We don't do it every week. Let's have a look.
There we go.
There it is. Bang. Wally of the Week. Who's been a real Wally this week, Ronaldo?
Would you be surprised by this?
Is it Arsenal?
By this?
Yours is always Arsenal.
All right. I don't have one.
What?
Right, I'll get...
That's a surprise.
Me and Joe will do ours, and then you can think of yours.
Yeah.
Go on, have you got one?
I know it's not 2020 anymore, we shouldn't still be doing it, but it's become a bit of a thing in the office, us three in particular, and I want to put Wordle into Wally of the Week for last week. Some of the words.
Yeah, there was one.
We love to do Wordle. It's a proper office game.
It's an office competition.
And what was it? Uvula?
Are we going to...
What are we talking about?
Go on.
At some point, we should have been keeping score, like a scoreboard. I
think Jay's probably top.
Can I just say one thing as well, Ronnie? I've not mentioned it. A lot of people commenting on how well you're looking. Are you looking good? Like your hair, that sort of stuff. There's quite a few people.
Where's the trying new skincare.
So I just thought there's.
Can you check if there's any?
Hang on a minute. Let me just.
Any potential wives?
Scrolling. There must be some in there. For Joe. Just maybe do like Control F Joe Gorgeous or whatever.
Can you put my Instagram in the? in the comments as well.
You're not getting a girlfriend from being on this.
You never know.
No, we don't allow it. It's not allowed.
That's like early days of watch along with him. I used to catch him on Instagram.
Did actually? Wait, during the watch?
Yeah, but first time. I mean, my favourite memories of you when we used to do watch logs was one time where you had a PSG top on and someone slagged you off in a comment. You went,
it was wait. Let's.
Yeah, I remember that.
It wasn't actually a full-on PSG top.
No, it was like a training top.
It was like a cool, like Jordan top.
It was cool.
It was completely fine, and someone said something, and for whatever reason it bothered you, and you went and got changed. Another time I looked down.
Have I wore it since? I'm not sure I have.
Another time we were halfway in the middle of watch along, and I looked over at your shoulder. You was on Instagram.
Another word, by the way, last Wednesday, primp. Come off it.
Primp.
Some of these words that we're expected to think about. Anyway, who's your Wally of the week, Jay?
Do you know what, right? I have this thing where there's no justification, right? And I have been skint, and I would never do it, of selling stories, interviews, videos, whatever to the Sun. Fuck that newspaper and everyone who writes for it, yeah? I haven't got any time for it. It's the only newspaper where we have never had a journalist knowingly, or not unknowingly, from the Sun on this channel. We've had them from every other paper, but the Sun is like a line in the sand for me. So seeing Rebecca Varney on there again, banging on about Colleen Rooney, after you tried to sell a load of stories about her, I know people don't care about Wagger for Christian. I'm a 44-year-old man, I should have better things to worry about. But it just does me head in. She's just shameless. And I think that paper and everyone who sells stories to it can get in a fucking bin.
Even the David Coote video. The white substance.
Yeah, well said, brother. Yeah.
I just think,
even I've got no time for that grassy shit. That's obviously someone who's filmed that, who's his mate, and then sent it to someone else and did a. And I remember once someone got in touch with my missus because he wanted to use a picture she posed, and she basically told me to fuck off. And I couldn't have been prouder.
That's where you need to tie the knot in it.
Yeah, and I will one day. Hey, you sound like I'm keeping my options open. I say my missus, we've been together a long time. We will get married.
I'm rummaging for the ring now. You're gonna be looking.
It's common law.
Who's your Wally of the week, Ronaldo?
Can easily go Jake Paul.
Why? Fighting a pensioner.
For fighting a 60-year-old legend like that, it was very sad to watch.
Yeah.
And I think he's everything wrong with boxing at the minute.
Yeah, it is getting ridiculous, isn't it?
So I don't like Jake Paul, and for fighting Mike Tyson, who's basically just about able to stand. I swear he had like a massive health condition a couple of months ago as well. So he's definitely Wally of the week for that.
Do you know what?
You probably didn't mind.
That's an easy one.
What?
Mike Tyson getting his head boxed in.
I'm not a big fan of any of that. Like the whole fight itself, the circus around it. It was on Netflix, which I've got. I didn't watch it. It's not for me at all in any way, shape, or form. It's just nonsense, isn't it? It's nothing to do. I used to be a bit of a boxing fan back in the day when I was younger. Now and again, I watch the occasional fight. I had no interest in that. It was a load of bollocks.
No, it is ridiculous. It's just, it shouldn't be allowed to happen, to be honest. Like, I do feel like, because it's in like the fighting game, it's almost like anything goes and your health doesn't matter. But, you know, regardless of what you think of Mike Tyson, and there's, you know, wide-ranging opinions on him because of his past, but the fact that they could sanction a 60-year-old man who's no question got brain trauma and probably brain damage from his career as a boxer to fight someone in their mid-20s,
especially because
is absolutely absurd.
The fighting game's serious as well, because in any time that a fighter steps into the ring, whether it's MMA or whether it's boxing, it's a chance at their life.
Well, you're shortening your life.
Might end, and to have a 60-year-old go in, I just thought it was ridiculous. Anyway, because I remember saw the John Jones fight and the spinning heel kick that he did to.
Yeah. Even Stipe probably pushed, you know, past. Was he 42? He's 16 years younger than Mike Tyson, and he probably was on the cusp of this isn't really fair.
That he took to the ribs. That could have been serious. That.
Yeah.
Someone's just messaged me about what's that?
He retired straight after that fight.
Yeah,
who did?
Stipe,
probably from like a lacerated
spleen. He turned up for the cash, didn't he? He's big, you know, big money matchup against John Jones, but yeah, just a bit sad, I think, the Mike Tyson thing.
Some little insider tells me that the training ground footage of Amorim's already looking good.
Really?
More on that later on in the week.
Lovely.
So when we get that, we'll show you it
also,
and we'll chat about it.
If you stuck around this long, it's because you're a fan of the channel. Big new show coming out tomorrow on the channel, recording a new regular show with a special guest that is a fan favourite. So stick around, make sure you stick around tomorrow because it's a big new show coming to the channel.
Perfect.
I don't even know this.
Yeah, exactly. I'll tell you later.
It's so secret.
Secret. Me and you interviewed him. There's a link in the chat to our website, our Shopify. We've got to get some Christmas jumpers in. We've got some bespoke Christmas jumpers there, so we'll get them in. So in time for Crimbo. Big thank you as well for Man. What are you laughing at?
Funny, isn't it?
Thank you to Manscaped for sponsoring his podcast. Don't forget to use the code Paddock24. Did we settle
That's
on?
the one.
Use the code Paddock24. There's a link in the description. Go and check out Ronaldo Brown, or his brother Rivaldo, literally.
And that's what he was laughing at earlier. He said,
Someone said Rivaldo Brown. I was like, yeah, that's his brother.
right, stitch you up.
Yeah, go and check him out on all your socials. Go and check out Joe Smith and the Sloppy Joe's podcast as well. You know where to find me, Jay Marty. That's been Ronaldo. That's been Joe. I've been Jay. This has been Paddock Podcast. Thanks for watching.